Hello, hello. I didn't look at the clock. I was like, oh, I thought I had more time than that. How is everybody doing tonight? Let's get into the comments here. Hi, Canine. So, since you're the only one in here right now, at the bottom where the emoji thing, is there a plus sign next to it? My goodness. Hi, Ginger. Good to see ya. Okay, we'll have to figure that out, Canine. That's all right. Not a big deal. We'll get it figured out at some point here. All right. So, I was looking. Oh, of course it's gone. There it is. I hate how if if you keep Facebook up and then you go back to it, it's in a tab and you go back to it, it like resets itself. I had it set because I wanted to show you guys something. So Nick put out an update and I wanted to show everybody what that update was. So this was 3 hours ago. Public update on the search for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, November 30th, 2024. At night, private intelligence is issuing an important update in the search for 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Our ongoing efforts have led to the preliminary identification of 3 persons of interest, POIs, in connection with the events of February 25th, 2024, the night Sebastian disappeared. POI number 1, we have reason to believe the person has direct knowledge of what unfolded that evening and may hold critical information about Sebastian's disappearance. This individual is believed to be working with the first POI, this is number 2, and this individual is believed to be working with the first POI in some capacity and may provide valuable context or corroborating details. POI number 3, while potentially unrelated to the other 2, this person is believed to possess knowledge that could shed light on the events leading to Sebastian's disappearance. At this stage, we are not disclosing further details about these individuals, but we emphasize that identifying and speaking with them is critical to the ongoing efforts. Nationwide focus, we urge anyone with information about these individuals to come forward, regardless of their location. These persons of interest may not reside in Tennessee or may have traveled across state lines, making nationwide awareness crucial. How you can help. If you have any information about these individuals or their whereabouts, please contact us or federal officials. We are incredibly grateful for the public's support and patience. We encourage anyone with information to come forward and join us in this mission. Together, we can bring Sebastian safely home and establish a legacy of hope for others. And then it talks about, going to 1-800-TBI-FIND, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, or going to tips.fbi.gov. In addition, 833-TELL-DOG, at night 844-922-3236, or by texting 332-252-3636. And you can email tips to mostwanted@manhunts.one. So, says all information will be handled confidentially, and even small details could be vital to connecting the dots. So, just wanted to share that with you guys because that is the newest update from Nick. There's 3 people of interest right now. That's incredible. I am listening while I have my late dinner. Sorry for not saying hi. No worries. You're both cooking. I already ate. I make sure I eat before. I don't like to eat later. I never was one. I try to eat earlier in the afternoon. All right, so we're going to continue on with our video that we've been watching, and I'm going to try to get through it tonight. All right. And I did write down where we left off, so we should be right at the right point.
People are going to buy, the reporter's going to buy, it's going to sell her emotion. And so she keeps repeating it, but it still is void of what Sebastian is experiencing. I still haven't heard that. I've heard some things that he's, that he liked, and his music and all the things that he likes and but not
Hello,
what
Mike.
they're feeling about him at this current time and what he's experiencing at this current time. I still haven't heard any of that. And that's exactly what we should be hearing from, de facto innocent parents.
Well, and I agree with you 1,000%, because what they're doing is they're buying empathy from the story.
Yeah.
To the community. It's like, how many times have we had that guy walk in, with a buddy and say, Hank, wait here, I'm going to go talk to the detectives. And then in the middle of the interview, Hank says, or the interviewee turns and says, well, if you don't believe me, go ask Hank. He's in the living room. And so what he's doing, and just my opinion at this point, she's buying empathy to everybody watching this story to say, you see, there's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Move along. Everything is cool. But to your point, what she's not doing is, my son left the house without his shoes. He's on the scale, the spectrum. He has autism. I'm just afraid. I'm scared what he may be experiencing. I don't know how to deal with this, and that is the emotion that you get when it's more in line with, the car on the right side of the road and there's no line for the collision.
For sure. Good way to put it. Again, and once again, very similar to what we heard in the Summer Wells case.
Almost verbatim. It's kind of scary, to be honest with you. I know this is going to sound crazy, and I'm sure the trolls will take it. I'm wondering if they watch some of that.
I was thinking that earlier. I was wondering that same thing. I just didn't.
Great minds. I was thinking the same thing. I thought, because I have wondered if it was planned. So then you wonder, okay, were they taking notes from other cases so as not to get caught? That's always a possibility. I know some people don't agree with me, but I'm looking at every avenue, trying to look at everything to see, Ginger, you were thinking the same thing. Yeah. What did we miss? Right? What did we miss? Were they taking notes on the Summer Wells case? Because they're acting just like the Wells did. I don't know. Ugh. Scary thought.
Say it, but I wonder the same thing. You would think if they watched some of that they would have learned how not to do things. But human nature is a funny thing, and that even people that, well, let's say, I'll mention this once in a while in my classes, that I'm teaching you about detecting deception and other information in the language. And even those that learn how to detect deception, they can't stop it in themselves. So even someone that's trained, they go out and commit a crime, they some kind of infraction or whatever, and then they're questioned about it, because that human nature is so it's so strong in the way the brain works, that the same thing is going to come out of their mouth. They're going to give away all the same clues of deception. They're going to say all the same things that
He did.
as the people that they've been studying how to detect deception. You can't stop it. It's just the way that the brain works. And so here we go. Even if they have studied it, they can't change it. They can't change the narrative. They don't know how to.
Yeah.
And very few do. And it's very difficult to actually change the story enough to make it believable. They can't do it.
Oh, here's an interesting comment. In their very last YouTube interview, they mentioned summer many times.
Oh,
Well,
no kidding.
wouldn't that be interesting, right?
Wow.
Yes, they did.
I wonder what the context is. Is it, and they went through it too? Let's see here. Katie elbows Chris when he's talking about bio father. Yeah, interesting.
Huh.
We all love Sebastian. Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's keep moving here.
Let's go.
Just be kind to people. I mean, it's real simple.
There are some people who have been talking, because I know this is part of the harassment. Is there anything you want to address about this child custody situation with the previous?
So I have a current case that is ongoing in another state. We've requested that case to be sealed because there are some individuals who have taken upon themselves to put stuff out there that they don't quite know, which all they have to do is ask, I'll tell you. But because of that, it has nothing to do with our son. It has nothing to do with the situation. People would respect that and then keep an open mind. It's totally different.
Is Sebastian, is that
I agree with him that his case in regards to Faith has nothing to do with Sebastian missing. I agree with that. However, I don't think that Chris, if Chris is involved, I don't think he expected this to blow up as big as it did. This never-ending media circus for the Sebastian Rogers case, which, for one, I'm glad about, because it's keeping Sebastian's name out there. It's just the rest of the drama I'm not too thrilled about, right? But, having Sebastian gone all this time, and you got to wonder if that affected his case for Faith. Having trouble there, K9. But you know what I'm saying? I think that this whole case with Sebastian has not helped his case with Faith. I don't think in the least little bit, especially with Nina coming out and speaking for, gosh, wasn't it like almost 2 hours or something? Yeah, many people referred to Sebastian's case as being like Summer's. Yep. And even Chris himself has mentioned it. So, it makes you wonder, did he learn from that? I don't know. My opinion, all alleged, we don't know anything really yet.
able to watch this, and maybe he's watching this as it airs, And if he is, what do you want to say to Sebastian? What do you want him to hear from you right now?
Oh gosh, that we love you so much.
I look at the way he's looking
Mm.
down and to the left.
Wow.
And this comes
Go ahead.
after the heels of that conversation. It's almost like bleed over stress, you know, in the CVSA,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Where he had just talked about the custody problem from another situation. And now she's going to talk about, you know, that one of the things I think it's, well, we'll tell the audience, when you do a CVSA, it's computer voice stress analysis. It comes out looking like a block or like a Christmas tree. And on the second question, which would be a honest answer, is your name Chris McDonough? If you're still thinking about the other question that was just stressful, it'll also come out like a block. So it just, we call that bleed over. And I think he's kind of like, I didn't like that question now that it's out there. And she's going to pick up on Sebastian here.
Yeah. Chris, hold on though. There's something very important though.
Yeah, I missed it.
This is biological mom, and reporter just asked, what do you want to say to Sebastian? What do you want him to hear if he watches this? Now, remember when I referred back to what my wife would say when if something happened and she would say, my daughter is missing, my granddaughter is missing, my grandson, it would be she would take ownership. Well, listen to what she said. She didn't say to Sebastian, I love you. She included CP. She said, we love you. And what this is it's something that I don't expect to hear from biological mom. I want bio mom to say, honey, I love you, and come back and you know, loving mom. And he's going to come home to loving mom. But she is aligning herself with CP, with her husband. He's the stepdad. And I'm not quite sure why she's doing that. But for whatever reason, she needs to associate herself with him. And it takes me all the way back to the phone call in the morning right away, called my husband. And the night before, when she skipped over time, she goes, and a little while later, I wound up going to bed. Well, in that time, she had a 3-hour phone call with CP. She's on the phone with him a lot during this situation, instead of finding Sebastian. And here again, I don't know exactly why she's aligning with him, other than if what I'm hearing in her language is correct, that she has, there's that disconnect, which indicates, not kind of, but it does indicate some kind of guilty knowledge on her part. She doesn't want to be in this alone. It's like she's grabbing him, like linguistically, psychologically, she's grabbing him like, we're in this together. We love you. She's using that we, and it's a very strong pronoun. She's unifying herself with him at that point in time.
Interesting. I'm going to go back just for a second and play that through. I missed that completely, but you're spot on this. It's interesting.
Totally different.
If Sebastian is able to watch this, and maybe he's watching this as it airs, and if he is, what do you want to say to Sebastian? What do you want him to hear from you right now?
Oh gosh, that we love you so much, and we want you to come home, and you're not in trouble.
I guarantee you he is loved. And trust me, the open arms are waiting for him to come home. From every parent to every family members to probably everyone in the community. But there's no malice. We just want our boy home.
Huh.
There's no malice. We just want our boy home. What is that supposed to mean? I find it interesting what he said. That I watched her face when the interviewer asked her, "What would you want to say to Sebastian right now?" And while the interviewer was asking her that, she looked down, and then kind of like out of the corner of her eye looking at Chris. And it is like she's leaning on Chris through this. And I think that's where I got the idea that maybe she was afraid of him. But maybe it's more about the fact that they are in it together. Right? So, I don't know. I don't know where you got 2 hours, 15 minutes, Mike. Yeah, it was. Oh, maybe they're just rounding up 9:46 to midnight. Yeah. You think she's afraid of him? I think she might be. I've heard that she could be really mean, though. But I do think that she might be afraid of what he and his family could do. I think that might be a thought. Let's continue on.
So somehow we missed the we thing again, but what he just said there, it struck me too, is why does he have to guarantee that he's loved? That's more of that language that's there to convince. It's like, well, of course he's loved. We expect him to be loved. Why do you have to
Sebastian didn't
guarantee
feel loved.
that he's loved? That's just all that does is it begs the question, is he really not loved? That you now have to go out of your way and exert this energy and the words to convince us that he's loved. To me, it's an indication of something that I would hear from parents that are either abusive or neglectful, or a parent that is abusive or neglectful. It came out of his mouth. So I'm just thinking that, I don't think that he really loves Sebastian. I guarantee that he's loved. For me, it screams out, there's a good chance that he's not loved. And on top of that, everything that came before this, Chris, him portraying himself as the good guy, mom being in self-preservation mode, portraying herself as a good mom. This all is leading towards it's stacking and shaping into the language of parents that are either neglectful or abusive.
Yeah, remember in high school where you'd go, yeah, sure, right? I love that part where this is such a serious question about what do you want if he's listening, and the response is, I love this part. Hang on.
Yes, no sense.
I'm going to go back a little bit more real fast.
Do is ask, I'll tell you. But because of that, it has nothing to do with our son. It has nothing to do with the situation.
The old, what was the movie where, so there's a chance then with, what's it saying, Dumb and Dumb?
So when we were talking about her being afraid of him, and you guys were talking about the money and the lifestyle, I think it's more than that. I think the Bowersocks have deep connections. I really do. And I think Katie knows that. That's my thought, allegedly. Mike, you're playing devil's advocate again. I think you're going to be proved wrong. I'm sorry. I really do. These guys are professionals at what they do. They have degrees. Okay? I don't think I think that they're picking things up. I think that they know how to look at speech behavior, which is what they're looking at here. Are they always right? Probably not. But I think overall, they might be onto something here. I'm reading things underneath this, what they're saying. And with what we know now, and Mike, if I'm wrong, I will say so. I will let you know. I will tell everybody. I am looking deeper. My eyes are open, but I'm stuck. I think you're more one-sided than I am, Mike. I think you are. Okay, let's continue on.
Dumber.
Oh, right. Yeah.
What are the odds if we can go out? Right? 0. So there's a chance.
I just people with
Shoulder
respect
shrug.
and keep an open mind. It's totally different.
If Sebastian is able to watch this, and maybe he's watching this as it airs, and if he is, what do you want
Watch
to
your
say to
face.
Sebastian? What do you want him to hear from you right now?
Oh gosh, that we love you so much and we want you to come home and you're not in trouble.
I guarantee you that
Right
he's
there.
loved. And trust me, the open arms are waiting for him to come home.
Yeah. I
From
miss
every
that.
parent to every family members to probably everyone in the community. But there's no malice that we just want.
More than the
Well,
community.
why is such the qualification, Steve? I mean, love, malice, you're
How
not
many
in trouble.
more
I mean, those
of
are
us out
3
there?
negatives
Yeah.
to something he's asked about a positive. What do you want him to hear? Okay. And she gives 3 negatives. You're not in trouble, et cetera, et cetera.
They're always saying that.
What's your take on that? Is that's what you were saying a couple
That's
minutes?
exactly what I was saying. It's more indicative of abuse, abusing Sebastian in some way, and be thinking also in those terms. They brought up, I guess this is the second time now, and I can understand saying, "Hey, honey, you're not in trouble. We just want you home." I get that, but when you have this in the context that with all these other things, it begs a different context, and it's more the
Yes,
language
it
of
does.
abuse than it is of "we love you, we just want you to come home." It's not that. It's not. We're not that. If that was the case, we'd hear it throughout in all their language, and we're not hearing it. What we're hearing is no, all these other things that are coming up. And for me, as I'm hearing the context of this, it's like, wait a minute, did he get in trouble? Did he do something he wasn't supposed to do? And there's some kind of malice, and there's was there some kind of abusive situation that went on? Which I could see that would be why Sebastian might run, why they might know. Because in their head, it's like they know he went out that door. Was he? But
No,
I don't
he
know that
didn't.
Sebastian would go out that door on his own. So, was there some kind of punishment? Was that part of the conversation the night before when she's on the phone with CP for the 3 hours? And because I know already that it's probably was not the normal day. She doesn't remember those. She can't articulate linguistically what happened during that normal day, all those things that you would remember, the last moments. She can't articulate those things. Why? Because she doesn't. They're the things that it's opposite of a loving situation, the opposite of a normal day. Instead, she's trying to convince that it was. And so I'm wondering now, was there some kind of did CP tell her, hey, do this to quell the situation, make him behave? And I don't know. It's just pure speculation at my point on my part at this point. But that certainly could be a reason for Sebastian leaving. If there was something abusive going on there, and when I say abusive, I mean there's different levels of abuse, and for a child with autism, it might only take a minor incident of abuse that makes him think, hey, I'm not staying here. I'm to be afraid enough that he goes out the door despite. But I don't think in my mind, as I say that, I think, no, I don't think he would do that, because he's afraid of the dark. He doesn't like being dirty. He's going out without his shoes. He's afraid of bugs. That doesn't make sense. So if he went out the door, and I'm pretty certain it happened at night, not in the morning. It was night. When she's saying he told me he loved me, that's probably the time that he went out that door. Whether she put him out the door to make him learn a lesson or what, I'm not quite sure, but
Wow, is that where that came from? Remember, we heard that and we wondered where that came from. Teaching a lesson. Is he the one that said that? But here's my thought. Seth stayed home. He was Mr. Mom when Sebastian was born, because Katie was in the military. So Seth has that bond with Sebastian. Those first few years in a child's life are extremely important for the bonding to go on. Any mother knows this, right? That's when you're bonding with your child. You're hugging them, you're loving on them, and it breaks your heart when they become a toddler and don't want to give you a kiss or a hug anymore. But that's where the bond comes from. Katie never had that. And all of a sudden then, she divorces Seth and has partial custody of this child that she never bonded with. So if we think about it from that standpoint, she has no idea that's why she's taking him. Hey, Betty, how you doing? Good to see ya. That's why, she takes him and gets medicine, even though Seth didn't want him to have medicine, right? She doesn't know how to deal with them because she didn't bond with him. Seth did. That's my thought, and I'm sticking with it. Let's continue.
It's shaping up to be in something like that. That's kind of what the language is.
Exactly,
is
Ginger.
saying.
Well, how many times in patrol would you roll up on a call like this? And if it's a runaway, 15-year-old runaway, right?
Hello, reach for the sky.
And the first thing you hear the parents or the mother say is, we got in a fight last night, and he's gone. I don't know what, did I do something? And you hear this self-loathing guilt and blame that the child left the house, and in this case, that's not what's happening here. She's now reiterating, as a final or a really important statement. She's given the opportunity. What do you want him to hear? And she relays these three negatives. You're, this and that, and you're not in trouble. And it's like, man, I hope TBI, I really hope that she said to TBI in the very beginning, like we just talked about there for a moment, that, hey, at 10 o'clock, I heard a thump. I went to check him at, 6 a.m., yada, yada. And I'm not going to give them any more clues because they're going to adapt to it after this call here or this show here this evening. I know.
Yeah, they will. And that's the norm. And also the other thing too is you mentioned that she heard a thump at 10 p.m. It's interesting because it's very, very common for a guilty mind to incorporate some portion of the crime and to put themselves at the scene, to put themselves on the road, to put themselves to, they heard that, and it's more times than not, it's something that it was spoken or heard, or seen or heard. And this is she heard something. And I can't tell you how many times that a guilty mind has linguistically then put themselves in the moment of the crime by saying, I heard something or I saw something. Yep. So I think that's what's going on there. That 10 o'clock time frame is, I think, going to be pretty key.
I agree. That 10 o'clock time frame and the thud is really key. Hello, The Path. Does she get government funding for having a special needs child? I don't honestly know. But Betty may. The Path, I think he might have had some medical and other related services, but I believe they made too much money for anything. That would make sense. Thank you, K9. And we were talking about last night that we felt that they had a narrative that they were working, right? Chris and Katie? We said that. We said they've got a narrative. And it's funny that these two guys said that they're not going to give them any more tips, But, these two have gone stone cold silent, guys. And what's funny is that their narrative didn't work. Whatever they had planned, whatever their narrative was, it didn't work. So the only thing left to do was to go silent. Right? It was the only thing left to do. Let's continue.
I'm leaning more towards, I'm not going to give an opinion yet, but I'm leaning more towards the mom than the stepdad here for a moment. Not that I'm saying, not that they couldn't have done. I think she could have done something independent of him at this point. And if I was investigating this case, my opinion would be at this point, I'm going to really focus on mom for a minute here. Mm-hmm. And, maybe he gets the phone call. Maybe he did get a phone call, just kind of like, the other situation. And now they're building up. What's going to be interesting is see the relationship dynamics, because these types of cases like this, unlike Summer's case, and I think you would agree, Steve, a child, of that age, 4 or 5, versus a 15-year-old, because in 3 years, let's push it where Summer's at, and even today, in 3 years, he would be 18. And so that narrative is going to be a lot more difficult to control, because he's going to show up somewhere in the environment, social, whatever. Because once he hits 18, the law says you're an adult. So they only have 3 years to play a game if they're going to play a game.
Yeah.
And they need to be thinking about that, because that's going to determine how much pressure is going to be on the two of them for the next 3 years in terms of their relationship. If they split, I'd go right to Chris and say, let's talk. Let's talk.
Yeah, that would be the best thing for this case, actually. But I agree with you that, and I haven't made any, I don't have a firm opinion on this, but I agree that mom should be looked at, but I can't get away from the history of abuse on CP's part.
Yeah.
And if there is abuse going on here, very good chance that mom Katie is being abused in some way, even if it's verbal. The mind control, uh, codependent on Chris in some way. I mean, how many cases have we seen where a mom or girlfriend or somebody will do something because the spouse or the significant other is making them do it, or they're afraid of what the spouse will do if they don't do this, or they've been given the ultimatum that I'm going to leave you if Sebastian doesn't leave the relationship, he doesn't find another home, if he stays here, then I'm gone. And that's not uncommon. And so either way, it needs to be focused on mom here.
Wow, guys, this is some interesting stuff. I almost didn't want to shut it off, but I wanted to kind of talk about it because we have gone back and forth with this, haven't we? We've talked about maybe Katie being a victim of DV, right? And I mean, we know Chris has anger issues. There's no doubt about that. But then we've heard the other side, that we've heard that Katie could be mean, right, Betty? I know it just, this is something that really just hits home with me. And when they talk about they have 3 years, my heart just kind of broke for Seth, because I'm still believing that Sebastian's going to come home by Christmas. Everyone knows that because I've been saying it and believing it and praying for it for a while now. 38 videos. So K9 thinks it was a two-way street in that relationship. Katie knows Chris would be more of a suspect than her. I'm really leaning, I think he does have some control over her. I do believe that. And I think it may be more due to his family. Because I just think they have deep connections in that county. And so I think that's what she fears more than anything, more than even Chris. And so I really believe that they are in this together. Whether it started out that way, I don't know. Did Katie do something, or did they plan this together? Was there, I don't know. Yes, they are two peas in a pod. I get the feeling that I don't think it's so, because I have been a victim of DV. I've told you guys that. And I don't get the impression that she is totally under his thumb. Or brainwashed or anything like that. I think she, in this interview, I do think she's looking for a little bit of support from him, but he doesn't give it at all. He reminds me of my first husband, who was the one with the DV. So he reminds me of him, and where they show no emotion. They're not a loving, caring, compassionate spouse at all. So, but this is really interesting. They're talking about they have 3 years to think about their plan, their narrative, right? Hello, Mama Bear. Ginger says they mirror each other. Yep. I think they are. And, you know, we heard rumors that they were thinking about splitting up before this happened. And now they're stuck together. Mike, I think you may be. Those of you who don't know, Mike is our devil's advocate here at Granny's Crime Busters. He likes to get us thinking about different things, but I don't see innocence with these two at all. I just really don't. The more that I see them, the more that I think that they have a lot to hide. All right, let's continue.
But reasons why could be because of what she's experiencing in her relationship with CP. Just speculation.
Great point. But a la Chris Watts, you know, with the girlfriend.
Yeah.
The family goes or I go.
Yeah. Susan Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of
yes,
of
we do,
like
Mike.
That.
Yeah. That's a great point. She's coming up for parole.
Yeah, I know.
Batman. But
That mama's heart, I know it's daddy's too, but I feel like there's always that extra special bond.
Hi, Susan.
Can you walk us through what you're thinking right
The
now?
real me.
I just want
Hello.
the baby to be okay. I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's at.
Now, I don't know if I'm seeing this in my mind, but did that reporter sound like she was tearing up, you know, a special bond with mom?
Yeah.
And you know, is that going to be an emotional mirroring, you know, that Katie's going to pick up on here?
Well, it could be. I mean, there's definitely cannot take that off the table, and that certainly is. It kind of depends on Katie's personality. Is she one that tears up easily? Does she, you know, when she feels emotion, does she tear up? I mean, I know people that don't tear up to save their life, you know, never. But yet can be very express emotion, but you don't see it in them. So it could be. It kind of just depends on her personality there. But I along those lines and what she just said, interesting that why did she choose the word out of all the things that she could have said at that point in time is, I don't know where he is. I don't know where he is. And she repeated it. I don't know where he is. I had a.
Do you believe her, guys? I have a tendency to believe that she doesn't know where he is. I think that when he was taken out of the house that night, and despite what a couple of our people believe, no offense, guys, but he didn't walk out of that house. He wasn't lured away. But I kind of believe her right here. I kind of believe that she doesn't know where he is. You know. And neither do we, by the way, unfortunately. But I just wanted to bring that up. I kind of believe her.
I have a couple other cases that I often profile in my classes where that same verbiage was used, and one in particular by a fiance, a guy that killed his fiance. She was pregnant with his baby, and he was asked in a press conference, describe your last moments with your fiance, and he said, he paused for a long period of time, and he said, I don't know where she is. Just like, it's like the telltale heart, that old Edgar Allan Poe story, telltale heart. It just, so much guilt that that's just what comes out, and what's just pressing on their mind, you know, that what they do know, and it comes, I don't know where he is. And anyway, it reminded me of that. And I just, so, with everything else that we've seen in this case, I just wonder, does she know what happened to him?
Too, but I feel like there's always that extra special bond. Can you walk us through what you're thinking right now?
I just want my baby to be okay. I don't know where he's at.
Wow. Did you catch that, guys? I just want my baby to be okay. I don't know where he's at. I'm sorry, but if that would have been me sitting there, I would have said, I just want my baby home. Where is he? No, she said, I want my baby to be okay. She knows he's not. That's why she said that, my opinion. I'll practically guarantee Nick, etc. won't push the flashlight theory. Oh, okay, Mike. Our devil's advocate. You don't believe the flashlight theory and you believe he walked away, even though neighbors have proven that the flashlight theory is real and that there's no scent. So he couldn't have walked out of the house. Thanks, Betty.
I don't know where he's at.
Chris does. He knows. Look at him.
Even my church body. I mean, we're all praying. We're all praying for his safe return quickly. What do you all want to say to the community?
Thank you.
With everything from the bottom of our hearts. I would not have imagined how far this has gotten, but there's no way to repay the gratitude, the love that we've felt from the community, the prayers. But thank you.
But
from
don't
the bottom of our
stop
hearts.
looking.
Yeah, please.
My son is somewhere.
Don't stop looking. But they have gratitude. Do they still feel that way? And he just said it there, that he never expected this to blow up like it did. And
This ain't over until he's home.
That's right. So we have, let's hit on the search itself, because we know thousands of miles have basically been traced and retraced. We've got hundreds, we've got volunteers, we've got law enforcement from within the state, from without, outside of the state. I mean, do you feel like they're doing as much as they can? I mean, you all have been right there in the front seat, seeing everything that's underway.
As far as I know, they're doing everything. Anything and everything has been an option. They have brought in assets and resources from various counties, potentially other states. I mean, I don't know how much more they could do, but we're grateful for everything they have done.
They're amazing, but they still haven't brought my baby back.
They will. They will.
Hey, Chris, just to...
whoa. Have seen this video a couple of times now. I don't remember Chris saying that. They will. They will. And he looks at her. That's the first kind of any show of support he's given her throughout this whole video. So, is it true then? I mean, do they have him hidden somewhere? Makes me wonder. Mike, I know what Betty thinks of the flashlights. Oh, goodness. the flashlights, and the secret door. I know he is not consoling her. He's not touching her. He hasn't. He's I don't think it's in his DNA to do it. Honestly, he's not that kind of person, and I don't know how anybody can live with that kind of person. You know, every woman needs a man who, even if she's a strong-willed woman like I am, just needs a man to hold her once in a while, you know, when she's having a hard day. There you go, Mike. Flashlights are legit. And maybe we'll go over, if it's okay with Betty, we'll go over her video about the secret door and the flashlights. All right. No, then, well, didn't they, the back door, didn't they say that was blocked? I thought in one interview somewhere, gosh, I've watched so many of them now, one interview somewhere that they had said that the back door was blocked by a couch, I believe. So nobody could get in or out from that door. That's what they said. All right, let's continue.
I like that. I like what she said, because I was going to stop you earlier and I didn't when she asked, what do you want to say to the community? And she said, thank you. And he said, and CP said something that was kind of like, we can't ever repay you for what you've done. And a lot kind of like it's over. But I was thinking, oh, you know, the community hasn't found him. There's still more to do. I would be saying to the community, man, just keep looking. Just please keep looking.
Thank you, Betty. I'll go over that with them.
I appreciate everything, everything you've done. But instead, it's like they're thanking them for their support, not for what they've done to look. It's more of, hey, thanks for supporting us with your love and your prayers. And I get that, but I want to hear more. Hey, keep thank you for looking, and just keep it up. And I know as her second thought, she did come out and she say, oh, don't stop looking. But to what she did say here, I really liked it. She said she wasn't too keen on the plea. She says,
Mike, we talked about this. In the beginning, Seth believed the flashlights were a trash truck because that's what law enforcement told him. Now, when the whole video has come out and then they have shown where the lights were in conjunction with the houses and the yards and where the floodlights were. And by the way, Mike, I'm in Seth's camp too. Okay. Just to let you know, I'm all for Seth, all about him. But yeah, now Seth no longer believes that those flashlights were a trash truck. He doesn't believe that any longer. Okay. I've heard the same thing. The couch is the same as Summer Wells. If I can find that video, you guys, I will show you. It's the only spot the cameras can't see. The crazy thing is they cut all the trees down after. Yeah, they did. Not sure why. So true. So true. And when you line it all up, you can tell that that's not what it was. That's right. We are okay to agree to disagree as long as we remain kind and respectful to each other, okay? Not accusing or anything else. We don't allow that here. But yes, I don't mind when people disagree as long as you're respectful. Oh, maybe you missed that night. All right, let's continue on.
They still haven't found my baby. I like that. That's the language I want to hear throughout this whole thing. Is like, why haven't they found him? I like that. And then CP's like, did he shrug again? I'm not quite sure, but he says, they will. He's reassuring her. I don't want to be totally negative through this whole thing, because that actually was something I like to hear. So kudos to her.
Okay.
He's out there somewhere. So it's basically, it's one day at a time, getting through this and bringing him home.
Yeah.
What is the reaction to the fact that somehow his image, he hasn't been captured on any video anywhere?
Thanks, Chai.
I know that it was very dark that night. I mean, it gets dark around here at night in general, but so far we haven't found him on any camera footage to prove where he's at.
Oh,
That statement's always bothered me.
yeah.
Yep.
To prove where he's at.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're why do you have to prove where he's at to the authorities? Because the authorities are asking him. You know how it goes.
Correct.
They're saying, where is he?
That statement reminds me of, again, another example I use in my classes. There's a guy that was
you don't have to apologize, Ginger Girl.
He was with a couple friends in their apartment. They were doing a lot of dope and drinking and stuff, and a couple of them got in an argument, and one of them was stabbed. And in his statement, he survived, but he went to the hospital and he got a lot of stitches and staples and everything, but he skewed his story. He's actually the one that started the fight. And in his story, he left all that out and just wanted me to believe that the guy just got up and stabbed him for no reason, just started beating on him and stabbed him for no reason. And the case was totally opposite of that. And in his story, he said, he just started beating me down with no regret, and just over and over and over. And he got a knife and he stabbed me. And I had the cuts to prove it and the staples to prove it in my neck. And I was like, why does my victim have to prove anything to me? He shouldn't have to prove anything to me. And it's because he was changing the narrative. He actually was stabbed, but he was deceptive in the way that he was portraying it, leaving out all of his own culpability. And so anytime I hear this from our alleged victim's family to prove where he was, I'm like, I'm just like you. I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it catches us off guard. Like, why do you have to prove anything? Why does there have to be proof? And I wonder, did she hear something from the investigators regarding proof of life? Is he on camera? Is he on video somewhere? This proof of life, did they ask her for pictures from her cell phone that she might have taken that day of him? Or, I don't know. There's all kinds of possibilities, but I wondered, is she parroting language that she heard from them? Because that would be proof of life, that he was alive earlier, that night, I guess earlier, she went to find him in the morning. He wasn't there. So, you see where I'm going with this?
So, at first I was thinking, well, it could be because everybody's been on their case, but this was really early, guys. This was, what was it, the 8th day in? I'm not sure if everybody was going at them then yet or not. I don't think anybody really started going at Chris and Katie until after this interview, if I'm not mistaken. But if I am, let me know. But so it isn't that people were coming after them. So was this their narrative, that they felt like they needed to prove things to law enforcement because of what they were doing behind the scenes? We do know that Seth asked for proof of life, but I suppose he probably had asked for it by this time, hadn't he? So Chai is our local law enforcer here. I'll say this about appearances. I sent an offender to prison and he was innocent. He had a deceased prostitute in his truck. I revoked him and figured he did it. Then the DNA came back and I screwed up. Well, why did he have a deceased prostitute in his truck, Chai? That's my question. I mean, I would have thought he was guilty too. Somebody put it there. I hope you're not beating yourself up about it. Hope not. Me too, Susan. And she ran back to the house according to the flashlights. Oh, I see, Chai. His truck was really stolen. Goodness. All right, let's continue on.
It goes into your thought. It goes into your thought. I mean, first of all, there's not a whole, this is 8 days into the investigation. So there's not a whole lot of social media, trolls coming in and saying, you did it. You're the ones, we know you killed him, yada, yada. Now, there is some of that, I'm sure of it, like everything, like every case that ever happens. But that statement in of itself is not directed at, if it's directed at social media, it goes exactly to your point. They're more concerned with what they're thinking than they are about Sebastian. Okay. Most people will, in a scenario where there's no jeopardy, will say, I could care less what they think. I'm looking for my son. You know where you hear that? You hear it from the biological father. That's what the biological father is, the first one that says, I don't care what they say. Okay? I want to find my son, Sebastian. Okay? And, the fact that she says to prove, I think that's directed at law enforcement. And that was kind of a leakage.
Yeah.
I think.
Boy, are they right on. We're looking at this 8 months later, right? They're right on. They're right on. Seth has been consistent the whole 9 months. I'm looking for my son. How many videos, guys, have we looked at where Seth brought it back around when somebody asked about Chris and Katie? I'm not here to throw shade. I want my son. He has said it. Has he messed up? Yeah, he has. He's gotten angry, and I don't blame him. My goodness. I can't imagine what that man has been through the last 9 months. And then he's got, I'm going to be nice, a mother and a stepfather who are not helping in the least little bit look for this boy because they know where he is. Right? So, yeah, only the guilty think that they need to show and prove their innocence. That should have been my grannyism for tonight, guys. Well, that's a freebie. Only the guilty feel they need to show innocence.
LE put a little pressure on them saying, look, this isn't lining up. Do you have any video? And by the way, she works for Brinks. So she's a video expert. She installs cameras and that kind of stuff. So of course they're going to press her right up front going, hey, you do this for a living. Do you have any video? Do you have anything other than what you're saying? Is there something? And then, she chooses those words very succinctly. I'm going to go back and play it one more time.
Right on.
I know that it was very dark that night.
How does she know it's dark? She's in bed. He's in bed. She doesn't go check on him till 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets dark around here at night in general, but
It gets dark around here at night in general. Okay, it gets dark everywhere.
That's another reason when I heard that, I thought, oh, that just another check mark that this, whatever happened, occurred that night.
That she was outside with the
And
flashlight.
I would say that 10 o'clock hour again, that's going to be probably key. That's probably about the time.
The thump.
The thump.
So far, we haven't found him on any camera footage to prove where he's at or where he's gone.
To
So
prove,
far, we
she
haven't
said it
found
again.
him on any camera footage to prove where he's at, where he's gone. So it sounds like they're alleging there is camera footage
It was one day,
that they
Chai.
reviewed.
Or, well, yeah, that's a good possibility. Yeah, that's good. Or in their mind, they're thinking there's a possibility now that they've thought it, that it's been 8 days and they've had time to think about this. In the back of their mind, they might be thinking, I wonder if there's camera footage down that particular street that we drove, or, whatever the case is. But certainly one of those is a really good possibility.
I know that they're looking, and I'm asking everybody and anybody.
I know that they're looking. So that means, again, it goes back to that, to prove. That's who she's talking about, the authorities.
Yep.
That has cameras, trail cams, stores.
So that's interesting. 8 days into this, the authorities are going, we're in,
That's a good
your
thought, the
first
path.
statement, because we don't know what the first statement is. They went to the news on this one.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be really curious to hear that first statement.
Would love to hear
To
it.
check, even from before he went missing, just to see if there's anything at all.
I understand there was a request for video, any sort of footage of Sebastian from earlier in the day, on Sunday, before he disappeared.
That I don't believe we can comment on right now. That is not something that I believe
Whatever.
we're privy to at this point with law enforcement. That is something I would definitely direct back to them. But I mean, there's all kinds of requests out there. There's thousands of hours of video that they are combing, and we're just hoping they'll find something.
And I know this is so sensitive. What do you say to people?
And those thousands of hours can be narrowed down to about an hour.
Hi,
with
Mary.
the
Welcome.
technology that's available.
Technology, yeah.
Who inevitably end up pointing their finger back at you. We were talking earlier, and I mean, are you both in the clear?
I can tell you that Mom, myself,
She's nodding
and
her
my
head
father
yes.
have worked very fully and cooperatively with all.
He's not answering the question.
He skirted that question. We expect from both of them that at the same time to be given a absolute answer. Absolutely, that would be the word. Absolutely, we're in the clear. Yeah,
Go with them.
yeah. We had nothing to do with this.
The point was that they weren't in the clear. But Katie was nodding yes. The trash can video, Susan, Seth even said that video was very grainy. You couldn't make out if it was Sebastian or if it was Katie. So there are devices that scan for cameras. She probably has that for her job. She probably did. And there was talk about, again, this is speculation, but there was talk about somebody jamming everything up that night. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't think there's any receipts for that. But this is something I did hear.
Let's just get over this, and we've offered to take polygraphs to clear our names and get on with the investigation to find him and focus on whatever happened to him.
Well,
But she didn't say a thing And then all he can say is, I can tell you we've cooperated. That's the only thing he can say about that. But that doesn't answer the question.
Well, and 2 months later, in the press release, or if you go to the TBI website, they say, and the sheriff just recently gave an interview, the chief deputy, we've not cleared anyone. So he's asking a question. He's asked that question, have you been cleared? And he gives an answer that says, well, we're cooperating. And then the sheriff 2 months later says, we haven't cleared anybody. But here he's projecting into the public that, hey, there's a possibility. The dad, me, the mom, we've been, we're kind of copacetic here. Let's go back. This is important for the audience to catch this, because this is 8 days. Okay. 8 days. They're having to, quote, prove to the authorities. And he's saying, hey, we're cooperating. And 2 months later, the sheriff comes out and says, we haven't cleared anybody. That's exactly like Don and Candace.
Yeah.
In the Summer Wells case.
Exactly.
The sheriff has come out and said, no. But listen.
And, are you both in the clear?
I can tell you that
You see Katie's
Mom,
head? She's
myself,
nodding yes.
and the father have worked very fully and cooperatively with all agencies across the board. We have anything that they've wanted, we have provided. So cooperation is there.
You notice how he took himself out of that?
Yeah.
So cooperation is there. That's a passive statement, meaning he's not saying, again, that we're cooperating fully or whatever, but cooperation is there. That's in other words, let me just say these words and let you I'm going to let you mold that into whatever you want to do with that, interpret it. And I always teach, if you interpret, you lose. Listen to what they say. He disconnected himself psychologically from that statement regarding cooperation.
Okay, hang on.
And I know this is so sensitive. What do you say to people who inevitably end up pointing their finger back at you? We were talking earlier, and are you both in the clear?
I can tell you that Mom, myself, and the father have worked very fully and cooperatively with all agencies across the board. We have anything that they've wanted, we have provided. So cooperation is there.
What do you want to say to our viewers? Anybody who's watching, we've got a lot of folks in this.
He didn't answer the question.
Yeah, he skirted it.
He's completely, to your point, completely 100%. It's like, well, it's kind of blue, but it could be blue. It all depends
right.
on the sunlight coming through the window. You make the determination.
Right.
Instead of, this is, of course we're cooperating. Our son's missing. And of course.
Chris is notorious for doing that. In interviews since this one, he has done this over and over and over and over again, but yet he'll yell at anybody else who tries to do it. He talks in a roundabout way and never answers a question, but then when someone else tries to do it, I'm thinking of the one video with Terry Lynn. Remember, he tried to yell at her. Pretty sure military are trained to pass those. Yeah, they probably are. I would think so. Not only that, from what I've heard through the grapevine, take those muscle relaxers, those depression pills, you're okay. Oh, they weren't trained on that? Okay. All right, let's continue. I'm thinking we don't have very much to go here. We're almost done.
Of course, we will do anything. And the authorities have cleared us. Go ask them. They have verified what I said from day one. I'm not hearing any of that.
No.
And in other counties, just throughout the state as well. What do you want to say to them?
Help spread the word and keep searching, and thank you. And
by the way, the reporter teed that question up.
Yep.
And she said to him, like we talked about, i.e. before they went on air. So they had time to process of how he was going to answer that question. And it was interesting that he took that answer.
Agreed.
just if you think you see him, call him in.
Thank all the viewers, everybody that's helped from across the board. I mean, everybody has been tremendous.
Call his name.
Yeah.
He'll answer, and if he doesn't answer, he'll look, even if he's not being verbal at the moment, because he can talk, but sometimes he don't talk. Call his name. Tell him to stay put.
And he could be on the move, so keep checking your properties.
Yes.
Keep your
the
eyes
search is
open,
never
people.
over until he comes home. That is for
He's
sure.
so smart.
But thank you for everything that everybody has done, has volunteered, the continuous efforts. I mean, it's, like I said, I've never seen something to this magnitude before.
Our community is amazing.
We're all praying, hoping, and searching for Sebastian's safe return for that day. Thank you both for
Thank
talking
you.
with me.
Okay, let's hear their synopsis.
Well, let's not forget what this is about.
Amen.
Thoughts, Steve? Final thoughts?
Good point, Mary. How can you come home when your parents aren't even home?
What we did tonight was unveil a bunch of information that's in their mind, in their brains, that they probably didn't want anyone else to know. But we in essence just open those closed doors in their brain and let that information out. We exposed it. And I saw in one of the comments that they aren't even living in that same house anymore, that they're now in a different state. And Chris, to me, that's kind of if that's true, that's kind of a nail in the coffin. I mean, I shouldn't say nail in the coffin because there's a lot of possibilities here, but why in the world would you move from the house that your autistic son knows? And if he's going to come back, he would come back to that house. I mean, if that was my child, and I'm sure there's a million people out there would say the same thing, like I would never move until he came home. If there's a chance that he's coming home, and by the way, de facto innocent people, parents, they don't give up hope, and especially biological moms, especially they hold on even longer, but they're not going to move. They're not going to move. If there's a chance that he could come home, then they're not going to move. So
Amen.
Why did they move? And it tells me that in their mind, they know. It's like CP shrugging his shoulders, like, well, it's over. Okay, we're on to the next phase in this whole thing. And they're going through the steps, the scripted steps, the motions. And that's kind of the final move, if you will, that we're gonna get out of here so that we don't have to suffer the persecution. We don't like it, whatever's going on, whatever the reason was. I'm not quite sure, but I would never move. I would be, like you said, bio dad is like, I don't care what everybody says.
I feel it too, Mama Bear. I feel it too.
I'm here to find my son. Well, that's what I expect from these guys too. Is, hey, we're here, we're in it. No matter what, it doesn't matter what everybody's saying.
Just think about Sebastian. Don't get mad.
From this home, that Sebastian knows if there's a chance he's going to come walking through that door again. So, yeah, I don't like that.
I agree 1,000%. It's just not lining up, and I think we stay at the house. Would you agree? The victim risk continuum that as investigators, I wouldn't leave that house yet.
Oh, for sure.
And
Yeah.
so
I don't know the extent of this, the law enforcement investigation, how many times the parents have been interviewed or polygraphed or, any of that. But definitely this is one of those situations again where based on this interview tonight that we went over, the focus has to be on number one, on mom, and number two, CP's involvement. She pulled him into that. She doesn't want to be alone in this. So that for me as from an investigative standpoint,
He
that's
thinks
where
it's
it
Katie,
lies.
huh?
That's where the focus needs to
And
be. Like
pulled
you said, right
CP
there in
in.
that house, and in that family dynamic right there.
And we'll make a couple of predictions here as this continues to go on. They'll align themselves more with adapting, just like Don and Candace have.
Yeah.
Wow.
And by the way, I just put into the chat here, if you're interested in taking Steve has a civilian class, go see his company, Truth to Lies. And there's a discount code in there in the chat. You can just copy and paste that to his classes.
Yeah, actually, Chris, that I have two online courses there. One is more of a beginner course, and then
Okay. I think they're done, but they're kind of looking at Katie and Katie drawing Chris in, right? That's their opinion. Which if CPS made Chris leave the home, I could see how that would make Chris very angry. And so he would want Sebastian gone. I don't know, but then supposedly Sebastian was going to go live with Seth. But I think, my opinion, guys, everything is alleged on this channel. But my opinion, I think that Katie wasn't having it. She didn't want Sebastian to go live with Seth. That's my opinion. So they came up with an alternate plan. But we could all be wrong, right? My grannyism for today is help someone, not for the reward, but for the sake of changing a life. Help someone, not for the reward, but for the sake of changing a life. And that is what I try to do every day when I get on here to talk to you guys about Sebastian or other cases. My goal is to help. I'm trying to help. But we should also be doing it in our everyday lives as well, right? We never know who we could be touching. So I want to thank everybody for coming on in tonight. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. We'll continue tomorrow. We finished this one, so we're going to continue on our list. I don't even know didn't I say it was Pascal is next? So we kind of had a little break from Pascal, but now we're going to go back to Pascal again tomorrow. So we'll see you all at 6:05 tomorrow. Thank you again so much. I really appreciate everybody and my mods. Love you guys. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.